go ahead and do your cat and cow. Yep. Yep. Pelvic thrust, arching, inhale, exhale. So take a deep breath, and as you inhale, bring all of that air in through your nose, and as you exhale, blow it out through your mouth and bring that navel towards the spine. Try to tuck your bottom in. Yep. Good. Good. Now, what I want you to do is your right leg back in the air. Yep, no, hands and knees, yep. And bring that knee and drive it towards your chest. Bring it towards your chest and now bring it back. Good, straight back, not up in the air, straight back. Straight back. Don't arch your back, go straight back. Straight back, too high, Keena. So go straight back, yep, straight back. Yeah, right there. And focus on your abdominal muscles and focus on your glutes working. Keep your head straight between your hands. There you go. Good. Now go right to the other side. Good. 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 All right. Now, what I want you to do is take that right leg and bring you to your elbow and then up and back. So you're working at hips. Out and straight back. Good. Up, out to the side and straight back. Good. So you're working at hip. You feeling that?
Yep.
Good. Good. Bring that knee straight back. Keep your head right straight between your hands. Your eyes are gazed right between your hands. Good. Same thing to the other side. Good. Warming up those hips. Good. Looking good. Right leg forward, lunge forward, good. So push your hip, yep, and reach through, yep, and then come back up, yep, good. And lean back, good. Reach across, get that nice stretch, good. Same thing to the other side. Through. Yeah, nice stretch. Good. Get about 4 on each side, so you get that nice stretch. You only want to hold it just about 2 to 3 seconds. You want to hold that stretch for about 2 to 3 seconds of breath. As long as it takes you to exhale. So exhale into your stretch. There you go. Draw it. Yep. Okay. Good. Looking good. Getting that. You feeling that in the hamstrings? Y'all feeling that, ladies? Yeah. All right, babies. All right. Good. Get the other side. Make sure you're evened out. And then we'll go to. All right. Yeah. All right. That's good. Excellent. Okay. Now, all I want you to do is now just go hands and knees, and just come up to where you're getting a nice stretch in the Achilles and your shoulders. So you're here. And you're going to come up. Stretch. Nice stretch. Put those heels down. Yep. There we go. Good. Do that about. Three more. Good. 3 more. Good. How we doing? We warming up? You feel kind of looser? Good. Now, what I want you to do is come up just like you just did. And now let your feet go out to the side. So 1 foot to one side and 1 foot to the other side. Kind of walk your hands right in. Yep, hands between. And now I want you to bend your right leg, bend your right knee, and just go to one side and then to the other. Yep, lunge, slide to side. Yeah, get a nice stretch in. Yep, inner thigh. Working that inner thigh area. Yep, feeling that? Good. Focus is on the lower. Okay. And then, now, what I want you to do is bring it on up. And y'all can follow me. So, hands right here. Like this. Yep. Bring it over. Back, have those elbows pointed up towards the sky and try to touch as far in your back as you can. Now try to have your hands go back. Yeah, get that nice stretch in the trunk. There we go. Good. Looking good. Good. Let's get write the alphabet, block capital letters. Looking good. Good. Looking good. Getting the ankle mobility, hip mobility, also getting a stack. You feeling that stagnancy or that down leg is being challenged, huh? Yeah, so sit into it. Sit into that glute just like if you were running. If you were trying to run and you were, yep. There we go. Try the other side now. Sit into it. Good. Write that alphabet. It's a balance challenge. Excellent. Excellent. Go. Go, daughters. Proud papa. Good. Wonderful. Wonderful. Good. Writing that alphabet. I tell you, your balance is much better than mine. Much better than mine. All right. How you feel? Feel warmed up now? Do me a favor. Push, grab, and turn. Warm up those, yep. There we go. Grab and turn. Grab and turn and pull. Good. Wonderful. Good. All right. Phil, you ready to move this one? Hello, Southeastern. I'm LaPlace Satterfield again, and this is my wife, Tanya. And we are here to show you the type of exercises that will help enhance your ability to function in your daily life. Yeah, I know, maybe you're a teacher, maybe you sit behind a desk and you don't have to move that much. But I guarantee you that these exercises will help not only tone your body, but when you are able to move, when you are ready to move, it'll help you to avoid the pains, the nicks, the problems that often happen as a result of untoned muscles. You see, our bodies were made to operate within an alignment. You know, when you go to the tire store and you get tires for your car, one of the things that you do is you have to get your tires in alignment. Oftentimes we sit out of alignment. We don't sit, we walk out of alignment. Without really being in alignment, we put our body through stresses that normally are not there. So what these series of exercises will help put your body in alignment. Also, they will help keep your body toned, and the muscles that support your structure, your pillar, the area from your hips all the way up to your shoulders, will help be strong and flexible. So one of the things that we do is we do what you call movement preparation exercises. Of course, in the morning you do your devotional. After your devotional, you're hydrated. Best to make sure that you're hydrated first thing in the morning, and then after you've hydrated, you've done your devotional, then you want to try to engage in movement preparation exercises. Or maybe your day is disrupted by different things that are going on, but sometime during the day it's very important to do these what they call movement preparation exercises, getting your body warmed up, getting your body so that now these muscles, these critical stabilizing muscles, are turned on and flexible. So that's what this is all about. So join us as we engage in movement preparation exercises. We're going to line up on the other side of our mat, and we're going to take a deep breath, really up, bring it up, and then we're going to bring it down, and we're going to just walk our hands out in front of us. We're going to get down on our knees. Tanya's in this modified position. I'm going to be in a full bone position. And we're going to get down on our elbows, and we're going to squeeze our glutes, our behinds, and our abdominal muscles, and we're going to take deep breaths. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Nice and tight. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And Tanya is going to continue to breathe, and every time she's exhaling, she's tightening those muscles even more. Even more. She's warming up the anterior chain of her muscles. nice and tight. And as we're doing this, this is an isometric contraction. We're engorging the body with blood, especially the anterior or the front chain of muscle groups. We have a frontal chain, we have a lateral chain. And we're holding this, and as we're doing this, we feel this. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
You feeling it?
I'm feeling it.
Good, good. Hold that. And now we're going to bring it down, and we're going to go to the side. Tanya's going to do the modified position where she comes up on her knees. I'm going to go the full-blown position. Are we ready? And let's push our hips forward, and we're going to go straight up. So you can hold this position. Tanya's going to hold this position. We're going to take our deep breaths. Our bodies are in alignment. I'm going to make it a little dynamic. I'm going to make it a movement. So I'm going to inhale, squeezing my posterior chain of muscles, my upper back, and I'm going to reach through, and I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to reach through, and I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to reach through, and bring it up, and reach through, and bring it up. And then I'm going to hold, and then I'm going to bring it down. Good. Felt that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the other side. So now, we're going to bring it up. Isometric contraction. Hope you can see me on the video. So we're holding this. I'm going to reach up, squeezing, and reaching through, and bring it up. 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 And bring it back down. Good. We're going to bring our head now towards the middle again. And we're going to turn, and now we've stimulated the anterior or the front part of our body. Now we're going to do, we did the lateral part. Now we're going to do the posterior, the back. And we're going to lift up. Tanya's going to hold that up. I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades together, lifting my toes, engaging my glutes, taking deep breaths. I'm warming up the muscles right now. Now I can make it dynamic. Tanya's still holding, and she feels it, believe me. She's turning on these muscles that have been turned off. I'm gonna make it a little dynamic, bring it down, and I'm gonna press up, and bring it down, and press up. Notice what I'm doing. Notice this position. If I was standing up, you would think I was running. So this is a good warm-up, getting the muscles prepared for those who run, or those who walk even. So it's getting the body prepared. You know, I know Tanya's feeling it.
Yes.
And now let's bring it back down. All right. So, if you can turn your head towards the center, baby. Okay. Now, we're going to reach in opposite directions. We'll probably touch hands. Inhale deeply. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale deeply, stretch. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale deeply, stretch. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale deeply, stretch. Reach, reach, reach. Exhale, bring it in. 4 more. Inhale deeply, stretch. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale deeply, stretch. Exhale, bring it in. We're warming up. Inhale deeply, stretch. Exhale, bring it in. Last one. Inhale deeply, stretch. Exhale, bring it in. Good. And we relax here. Now, we're warming up all of these areas. We're going to bring it up, bring our feet up, and we're gonna do what they call straight leg lowering. So here we go. Right leg down, bring it back up. Left leg down, bring it back up. Right leg down, bring it back up. Tanya's doing the modified, left leg down, bring it back up. Right leg, and up. Left leg, and up. Notice the lower back is also close to the ground. And up, left, and up, and down. Good. So we're gonna bring it up on the hands and knees. And we're gonna inhale and exhale, pelvic tilt, warming up the hips, the lower back. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. Let's get 4 more in here, baby. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Now we're going to go side to side like you're wagging your tail. What this doing is going, you're working these muscles on the side of your body that sometimes we don't move. Especially us people in the church. We don't really move these muscles very much. I learned that when I was hurting one time. If we don't move these muscles enough, and this helps us to move these muscles. So go ahead, you feeling that? All right, and you're getting a nice little stretch. Good. Now, Tanya's gonna take her left hand, I'm gonna take my right hand, I'm gonna bring it to my ear, almost like a right ear salute. I'm gonna lift that elbow as high as I can. I'm squeezing, and now I'm gonna bring it back down. Exhale. So inhale, exhale. This is called thoracic rotation. Scapular mobilization. That's a big word for meaning moving your shoulder blade. Sometimes the shoulder girdle is not always engaged properly. It's not always aligned properly. And this is a way of helping that area to be aligned properly. Good. Let's do the other side. And I'm going to turn so you can actually, well, you can see it from the back way. So you won't see it, my face, but you'll see it from the back way. Ready? And go. Up and down. Nice. And what we're doing is squeezing the upper part of our back. And I wish you were doing it with us. I hope you're doing it with us. Up. Good. We're bringing it all the way up, looking for that elbow as we go up. Back down. Up. And back down. Up. And back down. Stroke victims often lose this ability. And back down. Last one. Good. Now, we're going to rotate these hips. You know, a lot of people are getting hip surgeries and knee surgeries, and this will help to strengthen the hip. So we're going to bring Tanya's left, my right. We're going to bring it up to our elbow, out to the side, and back. Let's do it again. Up, out, and back. Good. And we're going to make it good. Nice and easy. Good. I'm counting 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and other side. We are feeling that. If you can see the sweat on my face. Ready? Let's do it again. Other side. And up. Good. Up. up. I hope you're doing it with us. Up. Good. Up. 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 2 more. That's 2 and 1. Good. Right now, we're feeling it. Our bodies are being warmed. We're going to take this opportunity to bring it up. We're going to lunge forward with her right. You're her left, my right. We're going to push forward. We're also going to bring our hands here, and we're going to reach like we're grabbing an apple. What we're doing is getting a stretch down this part. Reach, reach, reach. Good. And come back. And now we're going to stretch the hamstring. Good. Coming back up. Notice how long we're holding this reach. It's only about 3 to 4 seconds, not 30 seconds. So we're going to bring a turn. And now we're going to come back. Hamstring stretch. Good. We're going to bring our hand down. Tanya's right, my left. And we're going to reach through like we're shaking someone's hand. And then we're going to bring it up. And then we're going to reach back. Good. All right, other side. Again, reach up like you're grabbing an apple. Get a nice stretch. Come back, reaching forward. Stretching the hamstring. Good. Now turn. You won't see my face. Good. And reach. Good. Reach down. Again. Reach through like you're shaking someone's hand. And now bring it up. Good. And reach back. Excellent. Now, we're going to turn and face you. We're going to bring our left hand out to the side. Our knees are in line. And we're going to lift this leg out, which is Tanya's right leg, my right. And we're going to reach over and push our hips forward and get a nice stretch in the lateral part. You feeling that, baby?
Yeah.
Yep, feeling that stretch. And now we're bringing it back down. Same thing to the other side. Our body's in alignment, reaching over. Hand out to the side. Reaching over. And bring it back. Good. Now, you can do that a couple of times, several times. Right now, what we're going to do is come back to hands and knees. Come back to hands and knees, and we're going to bring our toes under, and we're going to push up, straighten our legs, press our chest towards our toes, and straighten our arms. You're getting a nice stretch in your back of your legs, and bring it back down. Let's do it again. Up, press, straighten those arms, and back down. Good, let's do it again. Up, straighten those legs, bring it back down. Good. Last time, up, and back down. Wonderful. Now, we're gonna turn towards you, and we're gonna, what I call opening a door. So right here, you push, grab the doorknob, turn, and bring it back. Push, grab the doorknob, turn, and bring it back. Good. Push, grab the doorknob, turn, and bring it back. Push, grab the doorknob, turn, and bring it back. Now this one is very much like it. So we're gonna, this is for the shoulders. Turning the thumbs facing each other. We're gonna do a hitchhike, right? Come back around and turn. Bring it back. Hitchhike, bring it back around and turn. Here, and around and turn. Good. Here, around and turn. Good. Bringing that shoulders, let's bring it up. And now we're going to add just a little stretch here. Good. Feeling that stretch on the lateral side, right here on the neck and other side. Good. And we're going to bring it up, left hand, grab, get a nice stretch here, and the other side. Good. And now we're going to bring it up. Okay, how you feeling? We're going to bring it and just bring the waist. Push it around, around, and around, and around. And now back the other way. Around, 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 and around. Good. Feet are apart. Hands are right in the middle. Toes are as much as you can pointing forward. You're gonna just lunge to the left, straightening that right leg, getting a stretch right in the center, and lunge to the right. Good. Lunge to the left, and lunge to the right. Lunge to the left, and lunge to the right. Last time, to the left and to the right. Good. Now just inch your feet back in place. Bring it up. Good. Bring it here. You think better? All right, take a deep breath here. And good. Good job. I'm sure you feel warmed up. Hope you have a blessed day.
Welcome again to another evening of the mental health segment of the Southeastern Conference's Week of Prayer. I'm so happy that you're with us, or with me. Happy to be with you. And it is us because we're together, although it's virtually. For those who may be joining us for the first time, my name is Andrea Gibbs Brooks, and I am a professional and nationally certified counselor with a deep love for relationship enhancement and marriage education. And the goal of the mental health series during this fall week of prayer for the Southeastern Conference is to share information that I am hopeful will help each of us to cope to the best of our abilities with the added stresses and complications brought to our lives by the COVID-19 pandemic. Or what I'd like to say, build resiliency and provide helpful relationships, information, anything that will help us to get through, and hopefully the information will help us to navigate through the twists and turns of this pandemic. This evening, we're going to start with prayer. Our topic is going to be on depression this evening. Okay, so let's bow our heads and let's have prayer. Father, we want to thank you so much for your goodness and your grace. Lord, we're covering the topic of depression this evening. Last evening, we did an overview about anxiety and about grieving. And so, Father, tonight we're going to focus more on depression, which both grief and anxiety can lead to. And all of them can be debilitating. But Father, we're going to focus a little more on depression tonight. So help us this evening to be able to hear from you. Any heart that needs blessing, please bless us, beginning with my own. Anyone of the sound of my voice that needs to reach out and touch you tonight, please be there for them. And I know your promises are true and you promise to be there. So thank you for answering our prayer and being with us this evening. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So we're going to talk about depression. Like we said, grief can get us into a depression. Remember, it's a mood. We can get down. We can feel sad. That's okay. But we don't want to stay there. So we have two types of depression: clinical depression and situational. So we're going through something and we're down, we're bummed out, we are just taken aback by it, and we just for a while can't function, but then we get over it. But then there's clinical depression. We can't get out of it. Again, remember, things like anxiety and things like grief can get us there. So we want to make sure we take care of those things. Because anxiety, for example, some help, some positive things, thinking, we're going to talk about thinking, can help us to get through it. Grief, having support, can get us through that. Anything to help us to get through something so we don't get into a situation where we're depressed, where we're clinically depressed. The simplest self-assessment that I like is, I call it the ABC assessment of depression. You look at the affect, which is the A of the ABC, which is mood. What's the person's mood? Are they feeling low, sad? Look at the mood, their affect. Then the B is behavior. How are they behaving? We want to be able to recognize the symptoms and be able to see if we have to offer support and help. So behavior, what's their appetite like? Has it gone down? Are they not eating? Are they eating too much? Sleep, are they not sleeping? Are they not sleeping too much? Remember, we talked a little bit yesterday about being on a continuum, or anything to any extreme is not good. Too little of something might not be good. Too much of something may not be good. We have to have the balance. We have to have the right amount. So we want to, are we slower? Are we slowed down? So behavior, ABC. C of that simple assessment is cognition, our thoughts. And we're going to spend some time talking about our thoughts. I don't know if we'll get to it all in this session, but if not, it will be in this next session. But we want to spend some time with depression right now. So we're talking about ABCs, the affect or mood, B, the behavior, what's going on, and cognition, our thoughts. That's a simple assessment. When we look at it, are thoughts positive? Are they negative? Are we feeling scared? Are we thinking the worst? We start to assess those things. Remember, if we go through it and it just happens and we pass through, no problem. But if we get stuck, that's when we have a problem. If it affects our ability to function, to be able to work, to be able to relate to our loved ones, our friends, our social life is impacted. If something happens that gets us to that part, then we have a problem in any of the things we've talked about so far. Okay? So some symptoms of depression. And remember, everything we talk about, we're talking about one whole body that God created: mind, body, and spirit. We're talking about the whole being. So remember now, some of the symptoms go for the other things we talked about, whether it was in the anxiety or the grieving. So as we focus here, whatever your issue may be, see if you see yourself there, or if you see someone else, because if it's not for you, God has given us information to help someone else. So sadness, can't get over that. Sad, anxious, see that anxiety we talked about, hopelessness, no way to go on, feeling guilty. Guilt can bring on depression. So many people are in hospitals, mental hospitals, or hospitals with physical issues because of guilt. Feeling worthless. Our self-esteem is just shot. We don't feel like we can make it. We're nothing. There's nothing to go forward to, nothing to live for. Grieving can also do that. We can, depression, all of these things. Anxiety. We feel restless. We just can't settle down. Irritability, anger. Too much of it. What's going on? Is it lasting long? It's a pattern that we're looking for. No one thing says that we're depressed, or no one thing says that we're grieving. No one thing says that we're suffering from an anxiety disorder, or we're looking for a pattern of behavior. Remember that. So again, we already mentioned sleep. Too much because we're depressed is not good. Too little because we can't sleep, our mind is going, so our minds can't rest. Our adrenaline is flowing so much that we don't fall into this type of sleep we need to fall into, REM sleep. We can't get to the point where serotonin comes in to calm us. Other symptoms of depression: substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, to numb us, to keep us from feeling, to be able to help us to keep going. And for males, we could be erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction for the males. Again, I want to mention this again, that we talked about it the night before. Remember, when we're feeling certain symptoms and it's prolonged over time, talk to your primary care doctor first. Let them do the workup that's necessary. Don't be afraid to go. God has given doctors and counselors wisdom to be able to help. Don't be afraid to go, but start with that primary care if nothing else. So to make sure that things are in order in the body. Sometimes the medications we get for the men can cause that erectile dysfunction. But depression, being down, low libido, loss of self-esteem for children, females, so many things can lead us to a depressed state. Remember, we want to be able to ensure we don't stay in a place where it becomes harmful to us in so many ways. Other symptoms of depression: lack of enjoyment. Things you used to do, you used to enjoy, you're not enjoying them anymore. You don't want to go out to places. You don't want to be with your friends. The hobby that you loved, don't have the desire to do it. Again, if it's short term, wonderful. But if it's consistent and going along and you're seeing more than one symptom, probably time to check it out. What about our concentration? Can't focus. My mind is cloudy. I can't think. I'm forgetting things. Again, no one symptom is saying that you're depressed, but looking at a pattern of things. Having trouble making a decision. We go back and forth, not sure. You make a decision and then you wonder if it's right and you change your mind. Our energy is gone. That's another one. Fatigued. All of these things, symptoms of depression. Part of the grief as well, anxiety, all of these things. So we don't have the energy to do anything. That's why we might sleep a lot. Suicidal thoughts. That's another one. And that's important. Where we're thinking of harming ourselves because life seems hopeless. We don't feel like we can go on. We don't have the energy. Things are falling apart around us, on the job. Those are things that when we have the suicidal thoughts, we need to get help. We need to go to the emergency room and take someone to the emergency room. We do that. The national hotline. But symptoms of depression are serious. They lead to so many physiological things. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more. Causes of depression: significant loss of a loved one, death, a job, our self-esteem. Somebody said something, took something. Men, even with this COVID-19, they're the financial providers. And we were created that way. The males were created to protect, to provide. Now they don't have a job. They've been home. They're struggling. The family needs aren't being met. Things are happening. You can become depressed. Us as ladies, we're depressed because we can't do what we were doing. Some of us were outside working. Sometimes we have issues with children, bring on stressors. Children get depressed too. Children get anxious. Children grieve. They can't go to school. They're not with their friends. They become down. It's okay if they can bounce back and jump out of it. Remember, we talk about resiliency. That's not good, positive things to counter the negative. That's good. But too much stress over long term, remember we talked about it, that allostatic stress, where we have the things that are going on that bring stress on the body, chronic long-term challenges and trials, but then we need something to counter it. When we're depressed, we don't have what it takes. It's too much. We become overwhelmed and we give up. We give up mentally. Another cause of depression is our body chemistry. That's why I mentioned before. See your doctor. See your doctor. Because it could be something, your chemicals could be off. So hormonal imbalance, and you'll be depressed. So you go ahead and you check that out. So we want to make sure we get that looked at. And then if the doctor can't find something, then he might recommend a counselor or someone else to think from the psychological perspective. And I want to put it in there. Don't be afraid. Again, I say it. God has given us counselors and doctors and has instilled wisdom. Because on this earth, it's sinful. He never intended us to be sick, whether physically or mentally. But sin has brought that. So what we want to do is know that just as how when the psychological part, to seek counseling, it's okay. It's the right thing to do. It's the good thing to do if that is what you need. Because if we have a broken leg or we have appendicitis, we go to our primary care. But then a counselor is there, a psychologist, to help you walk through the mental aches and pains. You can't touch those, but they're there. Just as if a physiological thing has happened. Use the plan that God has, which is He instills in people wisdom to help us. Don't be afraid. Faulty thinking, self-talk, distorted thinking, that brings us into depression. It can do that. And that is what we want to focus on too as well. Remember the texts we talked about in 2 Corinthians 10:5 about bringing every thought captive, subjecting it to Christ. Remember, Paul tells us that we're to think of things that are good and noble and wonderful. Don't think of things that are negative, because the enemy knows if we go there, it's going to bring us down and bring us into a depression. So the causes are many. Each of us are different. I can't stress that enough as we go through the next few days. We're all different, but we suffer uniquely, but we can find our way through them. Remember the 8 laws of health. We're going to be trying to pull those in, diet and exercise and sleep, remember those, sunshine. We're going to talk about those things. Remember, we're not only talking to adults or about adults, we're talking about children, lots of water. Remember, God gave us those things to help us to get through, to make our bodies well. When our body is well, our mind is well. When our mind is well, it impacts our body positively as well. So let's talk about the mind. I wanted us to get there because we want to talk about how much the will has, or the mind has. The devil wants to get there because he knows if he impacts our mind negatively and keep us in grief, or keep us in anxiety and fear, or keep us depressed, he knows that he can impact us in a way where we even pull away from God. We get angry at God. We feel God isn't there for us. And the devil wants us to get to that place. One of the models that I like to talk about is another ABC when it comes to the mind. And we're going to keep it simple because we don't have a lot of time. But ABC of CBT is what I would call it. There's an activating event, a trigger situation that comes up. And that makes us jump into gear. Remember, fight, flight, freeze. We want to respond. We are trained. We are made to go ahead and survive. So this activating event, the situation, external, nothing to do with us internally necessarily. It's an external something. But the activating event, something happened that triggered us. And then we start to think, which is the belief, our thought system. That happened because. That happened if I know that person, that's what they're doing. We start to think, our thoughts are affected, and they're not necessarily good thoughts. Because of the event or the situation, our minds start working. And if we allow the devil in, if the devil gets to get an impact there, then it can be negative. And then that starts to work on us physiologically and spiritually and mentally. And then the C of the CBT model is the consequences that come, how we behave once our thought patterns have come into play. So we have that event happened, and because of that event, I'm thinking this way. And because I'm thinking this way, I'm going to act this way. My behavior, the consequences, how I feel. Now I'm upset. The consequences is I'm feeling angry now. That person who drove by me and cut in front of me, that's what they did. They drove by and cut in front. But then now I'm thinking the B of it is, now they did that on purpose. Why do they think they're the only one going somewhere? I have somewhere to go to, and we start to feel, and then we start to behave. We might go ahead and say, I'm going to get right back in front, and I'm going to go ahead and get that person too. So A, B, C, activating event, our belief, and then the consequences from our thoughts leading to how we feel, and it can be good or bad. And then how we behave. And remember, we're talking about depression right now. So let's talk about the thinking part. We can distort our reality. One of the ones that I would like to mention is magnification, making a mountain out of a molehill. Something small, it could be, but we can't let it go. Distorting our thinking. If we really thought about it long term, we might say in hindsight, it really wasn't that big a deal, but I made a big deal of it. So we magnify something that really we could have let go. So that's something for us to think about. Is this something that I need to be able to spend time on? Or is it something that I can move on from? Remember, we want the devil to know we don't want to give him a foothold. Distorted thinking also talks about polarization. Like some of us are black and white. People talk about it, I'm black or white. There's no in between. But really, life is shades of gray. Remember, anything on any extreme is not good on the continuum. We want to kind of be somewhere in the middle to remain healthy, depending on what the situation is, of course. So black and white. So it is this way or the highway. It's that way or no other way. But that ends up hurting us because really life is shades of gray. We've got to work with what we have. And so when we try to be extreme on any end and make it exactly what it is, life does not give us that. And that distorting our reality can help to bring us into a depression because we can't get it the way we want it to be. Another distorted thinking is a personalization, meaning every situation is about me. Sometimes, have you ever felt that? You see somebody in the corner talking, you're at church, and two people are talking. And as you're passing by, the conversation ceases. Oh, they were talking about me. And the people might not have been talking about you. Maybe they were talking about something that's really between them, and they really didn't want anybody else to hear. But people say, oh, they were talking about me. Or they stopped doing that because of me. If I weren't here, they would do that. Personalization. And that can get us hung up mentally. And when we keep thinking in these kinds of ways, magnification, polarization, black or white thinking, making a mountain out of a molehill, thinking that everything's about me, and then it could negatively at that, it can bring us into depression. We need to fight that. Another way of distorting our reality that impacts us and can help us to be depressed or fearful or anxious unnecessarily. Remember, it's okay for us to feel this, but we just don't want to stay that way. If we're finding that we're in that place, we need to get help. So distorting our reality can be overgeneralization. Oh my goodness, because this is happening, the future is bleak. Remember Chicken Little? The sky is falling. Something happened in this moment. And because it happened now, we fear for the future. Something triggered now, and then we have an expectation that it's going to be bad or worse, or it's going to happen again, and we don't want to deal with it. We have people that are anxious or fearful, or the future is painted by what we're going through now, and we don't want to go forward, and we can become depressed. Another sort of distorting of reality is selective distraction, and that one is you can't see the forest for the trees. You know, it's you can't see the big picture. Remember, nobody's perfect. Nobody is, but we can't see the big picture and the positive because we're focused in on that one thing. You know, there's something that when I do a workshop, there's one of them that I do where I put this one small dot in the middle of a blank piece of notepaper, the pad, and the big notepad, and I put a dot in the middle, and I ask people, what do you see? And most people will say, I see the dot. They don't see the big picture. There's a whole wide area there that they could work with, create a new picture, but they focus in on that one dot. So selective distraction. We can't see the big picture. We don't get to see the positives because we're focused on the negative. And that can bring us into a depression. You know what? Another one of distorting reality is emotional reasoning, turning feelings into factor, turning feelings into truth. I feel this way, so I know that's the way it is. I feel as if they're talking about me. I believe it in my mind. I feel, and guess what? Because I feel it, it's the truth. It's fact. Feelings are important. Emotions are important. But we want to make sure that we're thinking. You know, there is, you know, we talked about the fight, flight, freeze a little bit in overview yesterday. But fight, flight, and freeze are there to protect us. We have, like the animals that God created, we're animals, we're human beings. We're human beings, but we're alive. We're not like a plant that doesn't know that it exists. It's just there. It's alive, but it doesn't know it's there. We know it's there. We're made in God's image. We know we're existing. The plant doesn't. The plant is alive, but it's just existing. We have the survival instinct. Animals have it, and they actually go by instinct. A dog is put in a corner, is hurt, it will bite, it will, a possum freezes, okay, a lizard will run away, right? Each fight, flight, all of it is to protect. So we have it too, but when we have our feelings, we need to actually know that they're about 5 to 7 seconds, how God created us as human beings, that along our synapses, our electrical synapses, from this amygdala back here, this brainstem, when our emotions come, 5 to 7 seconds later, it hits our electricity, or the neurons go along our neurons, and it hits our frontal lobe, and we can think, what do we do with this emotion? So we want to make sure our thinking gets into place, and we say, okay, this thing seems scary, but really and truly, I can push through that. It's not scary. I want to be in bed because I'm depressed. But you know what? I know I shouldn't be in bed. I can get up and go. Don't let the feelings rule us. We need God to help us. I'm not saying any of this is easy, but with God, He says nothing is impossible. So we want to make sure our feelings aren't fact. Our feelings aren't truth. We want to make sure our emotions aren't our reasoning. And you know, I do have a reading I wanted to just share with you. It says, and I know that it's very good because it helps me. And I want to just share what helps me. I can't give you what I don't have. And this is something that helps me. It says here, and this is from, again, one of Mrs. White's writings. It's a letter that was written, and I love it. It's printed in Testimonies to Ministers and the Gospel Workers. Okay? God says, fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by name. Thou art mine. Okay? He says, if you want to please the Lord, believe in His promises. He wants to bring you into a gracious experience, and I'm paraphrasing some of this. He says, be still and know that I am God. It says, do not talk of your inefficiencies and your defects. When despair would seem to be sweeping over your soul, look to Jesus, saying to the enemy, He lives to make intercession for me. And then forget the things that are behind and believe God's promises, and God will come and abide. It says Satan seeks to draw our minds away from the mighty helper who's God, to lead us to ponder over the degeneration of our soul. But though Jesus sees the guilt of the past, he sees what we have gone through, Jesus speaks of pardon. And we should not dishonor him by doubting his love. God's children are not to be subject to feelings and emotions. When they fluctuate between hope and fear, the heart of God is hurt, for he has given us unmistakable promises of and evidences of his love. He wants us to be established, to be strengthened, and to be settled in holy faith. So we want to know that God is there for us. So let's go on a little bit further. We want to talk about the fact that our minds, the enemy wants to take our minds and our will. Remember, God says he is that is in us. You know, he is in us. There's nothing that's impossible for him. We want to be able to work with God. Now we want to defeat depression. We want God to be in us. Just some ideas. We want to meditate upon God's word. We want to focus on him, the promises that are true. Jeremiah 29:11, 2 Peter 1:3 talks about the fact that God gives us everything we need to live godly lives and spiritual lives. We talked about 2 Corinthians 10:5. We want to trust God. We want him to be able to rely on those promises. We see the doctor, defeat depression. We want to see therapists and counselors. We talked about that. We want to end our distorted thinking. We want to fellowship with others. We want to have the support of others. Be in relationship with God and man. We want to remember the laws of health if we want to defeat depression. We want to think about things such as our exercise. Go for walks. We might not feel it, but push through it. We want to go ahead and think positive thinking. Push the negatives aside. We want to go ahead and be able to do things we like to do. Even if we don't feel like doing it, go ahead and press through. There are things that we want to do, and I'm trying to find, there's something special I'm looking for right here. And I know that sometimes it makes it very difficult, but we want to make sure that the church, brothers and sisters, should be a safe place, that even when our family, our biological family might not be there, the church should be a place. God is a person we run to. Go to those support groups. I think I mentioned it. You're not alone with depression or any of the other things we're talking about. Find out where there's a place to go. And church members, we should be a place that people feel safe to come to. We want them to be able to turn to us, but we're not going to talk with them. We want to, without first talking to God. And then even then, we're supposed to do more listening and give empathy than sharing, because God has the answer. God has the answer. I want you to remember that you're going to take small steps. We want to make sure that you don't feel like you have to do everything at one time to succeed, to get over depression or anxiety, or to get over anything at all. We want you to go ahead and take small steps. Get adequate sleep. Those things that are nutritional, all of those play into us overcoming depression. I want to encourage everybody that the mind is a place where we can meet with God and ask God to fill, and then help us to fight those things that the enemy wants to put in us. We want to know that anything that troubles us, God cares about. Anything. There's nothing that he does not care about. I want you to know the Lord says that we're to go to him and we want to lay our burdens on his feet. And this is, I'm reading again from that same page. I think it's 516 to 520 of in the Testimonies to Ministers and Gospel Workers. God desires for us to lay our troubles and our perplexities at his feet and leave them there. Go to him saying, Lord, my burdens are too heavy for me to carry, but wilt thou bear them for me? And he will answer, I will take them with everlasting kindness. I will have mercy upon you. You are mine. You're weakened, but I will strengthen you. Thank you for being here. We talked about depression, and we talked about other things about anxiety and fear and how important our thinking is. Remember that important thing. We are not animals just made to exist and react. God gives us the survival instincts to keep us safe, but we have 5 to 7 seconds where we can think what to do. And then when we think, we want to think of good things and positive things. And positive self-talk is important. Push through that fear, push through that depression, push through that grief. And brothers and sisters, under the sound of my voice, the church is an important place for people to feel safe. The home is an important place for people to feel safe. But we can do none of that unless we are leaning on God. Not only the person, maybe they can't even pray for themselves because they're anxious or they're grieving so much or they're so depressed. But we can connect with God on behalf of others. So let us pray. Father, we thank you that you've been with us again. Lord, we don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. No one has all the answers, but you have all the answers. Father, forgive us where we have not connected with you the way we should, so that we don't have to suffer as much as we do. But Lord, you know our weaknesses, and you know our flaws, and you know our faults, but you love us anyway. Father, please bring us a refreshing. Please help us to start anew. Help us to have the wisdom to know what to do to get through the things we need to get through. I thank you that you've heard this prayer and that each of us can reach out and touch you and find healing for whatever it is that troubles us. So we give whatever the issue is to you, and we wait on you, and we look forward to, Father, a renewed spirit and a revived spirit, because we trust you to keep your promises, and you are faithful. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So thank you for being here, and we'll go into our next session, and I hope you'll join us and you'll be with us. Take care. God bless.
The immediate closing of churches due to the coronavirus pandemic has evoked quite an array of responses from various people. Some felt that we were not exercising our faith in God. But I'm here to say to you that church, yes, we were exercising our faith in God, and that we were following the laws of the land that were required of us to do. No one's religious rights were trampled on, and no, we were not bowing down to the devil's vices, as some Christians felt we were. And we were also being our brother's keeper. We helped to curb the spread of the virus by social distancing. We helped to curb the virus by wearing masks, frequently washing our hands, etc., etc. Today, I have with me Sandra Gordon, who is a member of one of our local churches, who will give us her perspective on this whole church closing deal. Welcome, Sandra, and thanks for volunteering to come and give us your perspective on this whole deal. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see you too.
It's been a while that we haven't seen each other in person, but that's not just because of the COVID virus. That's because we live apart. But do you think, Sandra, that church leaders folded to governmental pressures by closing our churches?
No, I don't think we were bowing down to the government. As Christians, we are called to be obedient, not only to God, but to our fellow men. And we are supposed to care for each other. And by not going to church, we're caring for each other. And because spreading the virus would mean that we're spreading it not only to our church members, but to families and loved ones. And there are many people who live in an extended family with more vulnerable people living with them. So going to church during a pandemic, I don't think we were bowing. I think we were demonstrating what good Christians should be during the time of a crisis.
So you're saying to me that we still exercised faith in God by not going to church and having the churches closed?
Yes, we did exercise faith in God because faith in without works is dead. We exercise faith when we go into church on Sabbath morning and we lock our cars. That's faith. We don't just leave our car doors open and think that, okay, I'm going to leave it open with my laptop, my tablet, my phone, sitting on the front seat and say God will protect us. We exercise faith when we come into our homes and we lock our doors at night. We just don't leave our doors open and say that God will protect us. We know He's going to protect us, but He also expects us to do our part in protecting ourselves.
I'm happy you said that because I came across a number of individuals who felt that we were faithless, but yet these individuals are still individuals who I know lock their car doors when they come to church because they don't want anybody breaking in their prestigious cars. These are still individuals who lock their doors when they go home, and of course don't leave their valuables in church, like you said. Just unprotected. As a matter of fact, there was a church that I attended that during prayer time you would have to make sure that your belongings were well secure, because no matter how much you prayed, somebody would be rummaging through your purse during prayer time. So yeah, thanks for bringing that to our attention. Sandra, tell me a little bit about how you grew up. Were you always a Seventh-day Adventist?
Yes, I grew up in Seventh-day Adventist home with my seven siblings, and our parents were,
Wow, big family.
yes, big family. And our parents were always very active in church, and we were also active in church as youngsters. We all went to church school because that's what our parents wanted for us. We had family worship morning and family worship in the evenings. We even had morning family worship before we went to church on Sabbaths. My dad at one
Wow.
time was the head elder. My mom was a deaconess. She was a church clerk. She was head of then Dorcas Society. That's what we called it back then. Community services, I guess now. Um, and my
You're not trying to date yourself, are you?
Yeah, I am. I am. I just did. And then we, as kids, we had to take part in MB. Yes, I just did myself. Missionary Volunteer Society, now AY. We went to Pathfinders Club, and God bless my mom. I don't know how she did it, but all 8 of us went to Sabbath school. And of those 8, there were 6 girls that she had to come here. And
Wow.
had to, and Dad would help her to get us all out. But
It sounds to me like you were always in church. Was there a month or a few weeks that you would say that the family didn't go to church? Um, were you like a once a month church attender, or were you always in church?
we were always in church. We went to We went to Wednesday night prayer and praise meeting. Back then, we used to have Sunday night meetings. And on Friday nights, I remember sometimes we used to have Vespers at church. And then they would come to 6-week crusades. We would go in the nights and we're expected to go to church and have good grades. Going to
6
church.
weeks.
6 weeks of crusades back then, because
Wow.
my dad used to drive around and take members or non-members to church. He would pick them up in his pickup truck. They would put 2 benches on either side and people would come in. Then he would take them home after the service. So I used to a family of serving.
So it sounds to me like you grew accustomed to going to church on a regular basis, more than once a week.
Oh yes.
So how were you impacted by this church closure?
I did miss going to church because it brought my routine, because I would get to church every Sabbath. I just don't miss church for the sake of missing church. Unless I'm like really sick, then I don't go to church. But other than that, I'm in church every week. And the pandemic, I have not been in church since March. March 7th was the last time I went to church went to live church. So at first I wasn't quite used to not going to church, but now I know I just get up and I turn on to tune in to a service.
Okay. So tell me then some of the routines about going to church. Is there a routine that you follow to get ready to go to church? Is your church close by? I mean, tell me some of that.
Well, to get ready, to answer the second question first, my church is nearby. I drive maybe about 30, 40 minutes to get to church, depending on traffic. And so I'm used to getting up early to get to church before Sabbath school ends. I do try to go early to get to Sabbath school, but sometimes I don't make it to Sabbath school. And so I would get prepared. I would think about what I'm going to wear to church that week, and that would be prepared. Sometimes it doesn't really work out because, as women, we might not like what we chose the night before. And so we might decide that this is not this is not the look I'm going for today. So pretty much that's what I do. I get ready, I get my stuff together, and I head out to church.
So tell me then, because it sounds like a whole production. So tell me two negative things and maybe 2 positive things, and maybe it could be more than 2 that came out of this church closing.
So let me tell you about the positives first.
Please.
The positives is that I didn't have to drive so far to church.
Why did you choose a church to drive to? Were there no churches close by? Why did you choose a church that you used, to use your words, further away or far away?
There are churches nearby, but I moved to my community, my current community, about 7 years ago. And I was used to a lively praise and worship. And so when I moved here, I went to 2 of the churches that were nearby, and they didn't have praise and worship. And I was looking for that church that was as close to the church that I moved from here. So that's why I chose that church. Also, I visited the church and I wrote up a visitor's card, and the pastor actually called and said he was going to visit. And I was thinking, oh, probably just an elder or somebody will come. And he actually showed up at my church, which was at my house, I'm sorry, which was unusual for me. And I figured that, well, that's a good church to go. I like their praise and worship, and similar to what I was used to. So I don't have any problems with the distance, really, unless it's raining. So, yeah.
Okay. So give me
So
two
that's
two
why I feel that.
negatives and two positives. You were starting out with the positives.
Yes. So my positive is that I don't have to get up so early. I do save on gas. Um, that's positive. And I can now church surf, which I call it. So
Oh,
I've been able to go to different churches. I've been traveling virtually to different churches, and I'm enjoying it. Also, I have, again, like I mentioned, that we grew up in the church and we went to church very often. So now I can get to church. I have had so much church since the pandemic. I haven't had so much church since I was a child. So I can do Sabbath school. I can, because I struggled to get to Sabbath school early.
so now you get to Sabbath school on time.
Get to Sabbath school on
Because,
time.
because it seems to me that you could wake up maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes before Sabbath school and
Yeah.
still make it to Sabbath school on time.
That's right. Because I don't have to decide what I'm wearing, or I just go. I get up and I'm at Sabbath school. Not only that, most churches are starting Sabbath school a little later now. Maybe that's something that the church should do. Start it a little later so people can get there. So,
Especially for those who live further away.
especially for those who don't live near to church,
Yeah.
because back in the day, people lived near to church because not everybody had cars, but now just about everybody have a car. So they just choose which church they want to go. So yes, I've been able to go to Wednesday night meetings, something I have not done since I don't drive. I don't see well at nights, so I
Okay.
don't go.
Okay.
I've gone to AY concerts. I've watched quizzes, church quizzes. I haven't seen that since I was in AY, and we used to do Egypt to Canaan. I think that's it. That's it. Yeah. So
Was that AY or was that MV?
that was MV. I'm sorry.
All right.
That
All
was
right.
MV. Yes. And so that's a positive. So I get to choose, where I want to be in church. And other positives, like I said, just the whole idea of improving your spiritual life, because there's so much out there that you can, I've seen people, inter.
Have you visited churches outside the country?
Oh yes, I've visited churches in Jamaica. I've visited churches in Bermuda, and other places. I'm just naming those two. Yes. So, and some churches, and I've visited churches in and around Florida, and I've had some great experience just listening to people tell of how God had, saved their lives, how God has, they came back to the Lord because of their mother's prayers or their father's prayers. So that in itself has encouraged me. And also I've visited churches where there are lots of young people, young people just taking part in the services, being behind the scenes. I watched a church, they showed us the behind the scenes, and the oldest person there was 27 years old. So that
Wow.
to me is a blessing. Yeah.
Wow. 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 Are there any negatives that stand out to you?
Yes. The negative is even though I'm pretty much a loner when I go out, I miss the energy at church. I miss it's a different feel, it's a different group than I see at work Monday to Friday. So on Sabbaths, I miss the fellowship. There's some people that I'm used to getting my hugs from, some grandmas, and they'll come and hug me, and that I miss. I miss that energy, the live praise and worship. People just saying hi and greeting you, and so that's something that I truly miss about going to church. Also, and I know this might sound frivolous to some people, but like I told you earlier, we went to church every Sabbath, and my mother was a seamstress, and so we had really nice stuff to wear. So I miss dressing up to go to church, and because I used to look forward to dressing differently to go to church than I did to go to work, and just getting prepared to meet the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. And so that's two other things that I do miss.
I am aware that there are cultures, because I grew up in that culture too, I think similar to what you're talking about. And we had clothing that we would wear to church different from clothing that we would wear to other functions or other venues. Has it been that your church attire now have not been worn for maybe 6 months?
Yes. 6 months. That's 6 months. I never thought in my wildest dreams that we would be out of church for 6 months. And church attire. And this is a true story. I was showing a coworker a picture of a dress, and she said, "Never seen you in that dress at work." I said, "Because I only wear church." And he's like, "You have a separate wardrobe for church and work?" I'm like, "Yeah, we do." And she was just floored that I actually had two separate sets of clothes, one for church, one for work. Yeah. So that in itself gave me a chance to witness to her about my faith and why we do it,
Because I know just a tad bit about your dressing, I think you also miss the shoes. I'm probably going to be we're speaking to some other lady out there, some other woman out there who has a whole bunch of shoes that they haven't worn either for the past 6 months. That church has closed, so I'm sure they're eager to get back into their shoes and to do the dress up thing, to go back to church.
Yes. Yes, I think so. I am eager, yes. And it's not that we're worshiping clothes.
No.
It's not that we're worshiping clothes or shoes, but if I was invited to see somebody that I admire, I would definitely not be wearing something I wear every day. I would get something new to wear or something nice, to wear to meet that earthly person. So why not dress up nicely to meet our Heavenly Father?
And especially since if you were going summons to the courtroom, you would dress up appropriately, and if it was a dignitary of earth, whether it was a president or a famous individual, I'm sure you would dress to the T. So here you are, you're going to meet the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, in his own house, and so you feel it appropriate to dress, of course, tastefully, not over the top,
Right.
but to give of your best, as they would say, give of your best
Yes.
to the master.
Mhm.
Let me ask, when this pandemic is over, do you plan on rejoining the congregation? Or do you plan on continuing attending virtual church?
No, I intend to go back to church. I have to go back to church because I have responsibilities at church that that does not need to be done virtually. It must be done in person. So yes, I do intend to go back, and I want to go back and gather in a congregation. I want to see the live praise and worship. I want to hear the live preaching, and yeah. And to backtrack a little about the negative effect of not being in church is that at home I get distracted easily, and my phone may go off because my friends who all know that I'm Seventh-day Adventist and I usually am plugged out on a Sabbath, they believe that because churches are closed, then they can call and they're like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm in church. Church, yes, I'm watching church on TV. So you're going to have to call me back after sunset, or so I get distracted easily. So when you're in church, you're like focused on what's going on the podium. Yeah. So that's a negative. But so yes, I intend to go back to church when church reopens. Actually, I am looking forward to going back to church when it reopens.
A matter of fact, I think another positive aspect of this is that it's easier to invite your friends to church now, because you just have to give them a link to say you can attend my church. You don't have to drive anywhere. You can be at home. You don't have to change your clothes, because oftentimes, even on Zoom church meetings, individuals don't show their faces. You just see their names pop up, but their faces are not there. And so there is a level of convenience that the virtual church gives. And I'm wondering to myself, I'm curious to see when church is open, how many of our congregants we will get back, because it's been so convenient these past months to be in church on time, because they don't have to do the travel, and also for lunch. As a pastor, I've always listened to individuals say how the church services were long. Whether you preached long or not, sometimes the preliminaries before the preacher gets up are long, but nobody thinks about the preliminaries being long. They only think about the pastor being long, and they want to get out of church so that they can get home and get their lunch. Of course, the ironic part about that is as soon as they get out of church, a number of them congregate outside for another 15-20 minutes before getting home. Sometimes even 45 minutes before getting home. But with the virtual church, I've actually known that people are warming up their lunches during the time the services are going on, and they're not disrupting anything. And so as soon as as the church service gets done, or even during the time that the church services are going on, they're eating their lunch, so they're not missing anything. So it's going to be interesting to see when the pandemic moves away, we've got a control of it. If individuals, how many individuals are going to take part of the virtual church? And of course, I would encourage those churches that have their church online to continue having their church online, even when their churches are open. What changes are you expecting the churches to make when we resume congregational meeting?
Before I answer that, there's one thing I didn't mention, and it's how
Okay.
much the gospel is reaching many people. Because sometimes I'm watching and there's like 2.9 persons watching, 1,000 people watching at the same time. We couldn't reach all those people with just one church service, because how many churches can hold 2,000 people?
True.
Very unlikely that we'll have 2,000 people in a church on any given Sabbath. And so for me, I think the gospel is spreading more. And I feel that we will have gathered some souls who want to actually be in the congregation to actually see what it's like, to worship on a Sabbath. So that's another, I think, advantage of us being virtual.
Great.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mhm.
That's true.
So what do I think will be? Are we talking in terms of safety for our members?
We're talking in terms of safety.
Okay.
What do you expect to see happen when we go back to church?
Well, church,
Safety
I think,
measures.
it's going to be a little different. There are some people, and I've noticed this in one service I watched. They're allowing church members to come back because they didn't get the pandemic as hard as we did. They weren't hit by the pandemic as hard as we were in the USA. And they are doing social distancing. And I figured I would be doing that and having members sit together as a family or sit every other pew, sit 6 feet apart. I think at the beginning we'll be expected to wear a mask, except we're singing and preaching. And we will probably have sanitizing stations at the entrance, and maybe members will come through one door and go through the other. And at the beginning, I don't think we'll be congregating, like you say, outside for 15 or 20 minutes. They're going to probably recommend that we head straight to our cars and leave. So that's what I suspect will happen. We probably won't have meet and greet where, you sing the welcome song and everybody gets a hug, So for now, I think that's what we'll have to do. We'll also have to put signs up to say that, this is what to expect, and let people know that if you're feeling sick, then stay home and watch virtual church.
Yes, I do believe it's going to be there's going to be a radical change.
Mm-hmm.
I know that our churches have greeters as you come into the church. Those greeters are probably going to have to greet differently than they did before this pandemic hit. That is going to change drastically. I can see that some bathrooms are probably going to have to be remodeled for sanitary purposes. There's going to be definitely more equipment, and by that I mean a lot of churches shared mics or microphones,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see that we're probably going to have to either buy more microphones or have some kind of a sanitation or sanitizing team right on hand. I would also believe that at the close of each service, that the church would need to be sanitized before the next service begins. So it's going to be quite a challenge and quite a learning curve for all of us as preachers. I know one of the things I like to do when I'm preaching is to come down off the pulpit and walk close to the individuals in church. I might have to curtail that.
Might have to, yes, you might have to stay put.
You might have to stay put. It's
or
a new
if you come
normal.
down, you have to be 6 feet apart. So,
6 feet apart. 6
Yes.
feet apart. Tell me something. Is there something that you learned about yourself during this whole pandemic issue with regards to church? Something that maybe you didn't know that this pandemic brought out to you?
I have had to learn to be a little more patient because I've had to do so much Zoom meeting everywhere, work, church, and I had to be patient with people who were struggling with Zoom and, pretty much help to walk them through it. I also learned that even though I am pretty much a loner, when I go to church, that I actually was enjoying seeing different people, different types. So that's something I learned about myself that I didn't know.
God created us to be social beings, and I think that brought this pandemic has brought that to the forefront for many of us, because we took the socializing of people for granted. But that's something that was brought out. Sandra, I want to say thank you very, very much for just sharing a little bit about yourself and about your church experience. And I sincerely hope that soon and very soon we'll be able to go back to church, not the way it used to be, but at least to be able to see some of the individuals that we were accustomed to seeing. And of course, things that happen virtually is a little bit different when it is live.
Yes.
That's why people go to live concerts, even though they can buy the DVDs and sit at home and watch it. The social aspect for those who like sports, they pay big money to go to the arena when they can watch it at home. But just the camaraderie of being in a gathering with other like-minded people, I think is one of the things that we've missed a whole lot. But on the flip side, as you said, this gospel of the kingdom must be preached in all the world as a witness, and then shall the end come. And I believe without the shadow of a doubt that God is using technology to spread the word faster than when we were in churches. So again, thank you very much, Sandra, for coming on and sharing with us. And may God bless you as you continue to look forward, and I look forward to going back to church. But most of all, looking forward to Christ's soon return, when we will be together forever in his wonderful kingdom, and all our friends and relatives who serve the Lord will be there. Blessings to you, and blessings to you all that are listening. Have a good evening.
Something big is happening on November 7, 2020, and you don't want to miss it. The Southeastern Conference Women's Ministries Department is celebrating its 30th anniversary. The theme is 30 years of excellent service. The best is yet to come. Prepare yourself for a full day of virtual interactive programming with powerful preaching by our keynote speaker, Chaplain Linda Pinnock, founder of Living the Divine Purpose Ministries. Enjoy inspiring music by our anniversary praise team and virtual choir. And join us for a special tribute acknowledging the excellent work of former Women's Ministries directors, Sister Vanessa Melton and Mrs. Nicole Rize. In the afternoon, get ready for a spirit-filled live concert with gospel recording artist Miranda Curtis, a special awards program honoring women around the conference who have contributed greatly to the work of women's ministries, followed by an anniversary reception and a celebratory toast. If you would like to nominate an outstanding woman for an award, visit www.sccSDA.org/women's ministries. Registration is open now to receive your personalized 30th anniversary gift box for a donation of just $30. Anniversary t-shirts are also available, and take a moment to place an ad in our commemorative booklet on behalf of an outstanding leader or in memory of a loved one. To receive your package by November 7, orders must be placed by October 16, 2020. For more details and to register right now, visit www.sccSDA.org. You may also register using the SEC SDA mobile app. Download it today for free. This celebration will not be complete unless you are there to share it with us. So mark your calendars now.